Once upon a time, in a cozy little house nestled near the edge of a vast forest, there lived a cheerful young girl and her loving mother. This girl was known to everyone as Little Red Riding Hood, thanks to the bright red cloak she always wore. Their days were simple and happy, surrounded by the beauty of nature and the warmth of home. But one day, something happened that would change Little Red Riding Hood's life forever, setting her on an adventure deep into the mysterious woods. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother called her over with a look of concern. She explained that Grandma was feeling unwell and needed some comfort. Carefully, her mother packed a basket with a bottle of fresh milk, some bread, and a bit of butter, simple treats to help Grandma feel better. She handed the basket to Little Red Riding Hood and asked her to deliver it to Grandma's house, which was on the other side of the forest. With a promise to be careful, the little girl set off on her journey, her red cloak bright against the green trees. As Little Red Riding Hood walked along the winding path, the forest seemed both enchanting and a little bit mysterious. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, and birds chirped overhead. She was excited to see her grandmother, but she also remembered her mother's advice to stay on the path and not talk to strangers. However, the forest was full of surprises, and soon Little Red Riding Hood would meet someone who would test her caution and curiosity. Suddenly, from behind a tree, a large, hungry wolf appeared. He greeted Little Red Riding Hood with a sly smile and asked where she was going. Innocently, she replied that she was on her way to visit her sick grandmother, bringing her some milk, bread, and butter. The wolf, always scheming, suggested that she pick some flowers for her grandmother. While Little Red Riding Hood was distracted by the beautiful blooms, the wolf hurried off, his mind already plotting mischief. The cunning wolf wasted no time. He raced through the forest and arrived at Grandma's house before Little Red Riding Hood. He knocked on the door, disguising his voice to sound like the little girl. Grandma, thinking it was her granddaughter, invited him in. But as soon as the wolf entered, he gobbled Grandma up in a flash. Then he put on her nightcap and glasses, climbed into her bed, and waited for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive, hoping to trick her as well. Soon, Little Red Riding Hood reached her grandmother's house. She knocked gently on the door, and the wolf, now dressed as Grandma, invited her in. As she stepped inside, she noticed that her grandmother looked very odd. The room was dim, and something just didn't feel right. Still, she approached the bed, holding out the basket and the flowers she had picked along the way, unaware of the danger that awaited her. Little Red Riding Hood couldn't help but notice how strange her grandmother looked. She asked, "Granny, what big ears you have?" The wolf replied, "All the better to hear you with." Then she noticed the big eyes, the big nose, and finally the big mouth. Each time, the wolf had a clever answer, but Little Red Riding Hood grew more and more suspicious. Before she could react, the wolf leapt out of bed and swallowed her up, just as he had done to Grandma. And so, in this traditional version of the story, the wolf's trickery succeeds. Both Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood are eaten by the wolf, who is left alone in the quiet house. This ending serves as a warning about the dangers of trusting strangers and the importance of listening to wise advice. But don't worry, there's another version of the story, one with a much happier ending just around the corner. In the alternative, happier ending, a brave woodcutter happens to be passing by Grandma's house. He hears strange noises and bursts inside, quickly realizing what has happened. Without hesitation, he saves both Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood by splitting the wolf open. The two emerge safe and sound, grateful for the woodcutter's courage. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood always remembered to be careful in the woods, and she and her grandmother lived happily ever after.